Throughout history, humanity has faced periods of profound uncertainty, moments when the familiar order of life seemed fragile or even on the brink of collapse. These periods often coincide with widespread social, political, or environmental upheaval, times when natural disasters, plagues, wars, or dramatic shifts in governance and culture left people feeling powerless. In these moments, apocalyptic beliefs tend to arise with remarkable frequency. Human beings naturally seek patterns and explanations, and the idea of an impending end, whether sudden or protracted, provides a framework for making sense of chaos. These beliefs are not mere superstition, they reflect our need to create narratives that restore a sense of order and predictability to a world that suddenly feels unpredictable. The sources of these apocalyptic beliefs are varied, spanning religion, science, and popular culture. Religious prophecies, such as those found in the Book of Revelation or in eschatological traditions across cultures, often promise both an end and a renewal, a world cleansed, a judgment passed, and a moral order restored. Scientific predictions, though grounded in observation, can also foster fear when they highlight existential threats like climate change, nuclear war, or pandemics. Cultural narratives from dystopian literature to sensationalized media further amplify collective anxieties, presenting imagined futures that feel tangible and almost inevitable to those consuming them. At the heart of these beliefs lies a deep-seated human desire for meaning. People do not only crave survival in the physical sense, they crave significance, purpose, and justice. When confronted with uncertainty, the mind seeks not only to explain events, but also to locate a sense of moral and emotional equilibrium. Apocalyptic narratives can provide this, offering explanations for why things have gone wrong and promising a resolution even if that resolution is terrifying. They also speak to our need for connection, as the collective nature of fear and anticipation around an apocalyptic event can bind communities together, creating shared rituals, shared anxieties, and a sense of belonging in the face of the unknown. Yet, as powerful as these narratives can be, it is essential to examine the underlying causes of the fears that give rise to them. Fear, particularly fear of the unknown, is not simply a reaction to events themselves. It is shaped by perception, by social conditioning, and by the stories humans tell themselves about the world. In understanding these mechanisms, we gain insight into not only why apocalyptic beliefs recur across time, but also how they influence human behavior, sometimes inspiring altruism and community, and at other times fostering panic, division, or harmful actions. By exploring the psychological and cultural roots of these fears, we can better navigate moments of uncertainty and respond to them in ways that are grounded, informed, and constructive. Apocalyptic beliefs are not a modern phenomenon. They have appeared throughout various cultures and epochs, often during times of social upheaval, political instability, or existential crisis. Human beings have repeatedly sought explanations for the turmoil around them, and the idea of an impending end has offered a powerful lens through which to interpret uncertainty. From the early Christian anticipation of the second coming to the anxieties surrounding the Mayan calendar, societies have grappled with the notion that the world as they knew it could come to a sudden and dramatic conclusion. These beliefs were often rooted in moral or spiritual frameworks, promising both judgment and renewal, offering individuals the hope that suffering, injustice, or chaos would ultimately be resolved in a definitive way. Across cultures, similar patterns emerge. In ancient Mesopotamia, apocalyptic visions depicted floods, plagues, or cosmic disruptions as a response to human failings. In medieval Europe, plagues and social upheavals inspired fervent prophecies of the end times. During the Cold War, fears of nuclear annihilation prompted widespread anxiety and inspired literature, film, and public campaigns focused on survival strategies. Even in the technological era, concerns like the Y2K bug revealed the persistence of apocalyptic thinking, as millions feared global infrastructure collapse with the turn of the millennium. These moments illustrate that apocalyptic beliefs are a recurring response to perceived vulnerability, rather than a reflection of actual impending catastrophe. Such beliefs often function as coping mechanisms. They provide structure and narrative to otherwise chaotic circumstances. By offering a sense of ultimate resolution, they allow individuals to feel that there is order behind apparent randomness. They can also foster community, as shared anticipation or preparation brings people together with a common purpose. In this way, apocalyptic narratives serve both psychological and social functions, helping people navigate fear, uncertainty, and feelings of powerlessness. However, history demonstrates that these predictions often do not come to fruition. The Second Coming did not occur as anticipated by early Christians, the world did not end with the turn of the millennium, and countless other prophecies have failed to materialize. These outcomes can lead to disillusionment and skepticism, but they also offer important lessons. They reveal the resilience of the human spirit, the capacity to recover from fear, and the ability to rebuild and continue despite unmet expectations. They also underscore the need to critically evaluate narratives and the sources that promote them, particularly when those narratives may amplify anxiety, division, or harmful behavior. By understanding the recurring nature of apocalyptic belief and the psychological mechanisms that sustain it, we gain insight into both the vulnerabilities and the strengths of human societies. We see how fear and uncertainty can shape perception and behavior, and how individuals and communities can either succumb to panic or find ways to navigate uncertainty with prudence, compassion, and wisdom. These lessons remain relevant today, as similar dynamics play out in response to new crises and widespread rumors of impending catastrophe. The fear of uncertainty is a fundamental and universal aspect of the human experience. From an early age, humans develop an awareness that the future is unknown, and this awareness can trigger feelings of anxiety, tension, and stress. The unpredictability of life creates a sense of vulnerability, and the mind naturally seeks ways to reduce that vulnerability by finding patterns, explanations, or certainties. When certainty is lacking, even imagined threats can take on an outsized significance, amplifying fear and shaping behavior in profound ways. Cognitive biases play a critical role in this process. One such bias is the need for cognitive closure, which refers to the preference for definite answers and conclusions over ambiguity and uncertainty. Individuals with a strong need for closure may accept explanations that are simple or emotionally satisfying, even when these explanations are factually incorrect or incomplete. In the context of apocalyptic beliefs, this can lead people to embrace predictions or prophecies as a way to impose order on a chaotic and uncertain world. The certainty, even if false, provides psychological relief from the stress of not knowing what is to come. Terror management theory offers another lens for understanding these dynamics. According to this theory, humans possess a unique awareness of their mortality, and the knowledge that life is finite can produce existential anxiety. In response, individuals often seek meaning, significance, and a sense of permanence through cultural beliefs, religious systems, or social structures. Apocalyptic narratives can serve as a mechanism to manage this anxiety by framing life as part of a larger cosmic order, offering the hope of resolution, justice, or renewal. In this way, adherence to end-of-the-world predictions can function as a psychological shield, temporarily protecting the mind from the discomfort of facing mortality and uncertainty directly. Social and cultural reinforcement further magnifies the fear of uncertainty. When individuals see others around them embracing apocalyptic predictions, the collective fear becomes contagious, creating a feedback loop that validates and amplifies personal anxieties. Media coverage, online communities, and social networks can intensify this effect by spreading sensationalized narratives and giving the impression that such beliefs are more widespread or credible than they are. The result is a heightened state of vigilance, suspicion, and emotional reactivity that can influence decision-making and social behavior in significant ways. Understanding these psychological mechanisms is crucial, not to dismiss or mock those experiencing fear, but to recognize the natural processes that drive such beliefs. Fear of uncertainty is not a sign of weakness, it is a reflection of fundamental cognitive and emotional processes that have evolved to protect humans from danger. By becoming aware of how cognitive biases, existential concerns, and social reinforcement shape our responses to uncertainty, individuals can begin to disentangle themselves from reactive patterns, respond with greater clarity, and reduce the influence of unfounded fears on personal and collective behavior. Collective fear can profoundly influence societal dynamics, often in ways that undermine cohesion and rational decision-making. When large groups of people experience widespread anxiety, communities may begin to act more insularly, emphasizing distrust of outsiders and prioritizing self-preservation over collaboration. This defensive posture can erode social bonds, creating divisions along lines of ideology, culture, or perceived loyalty. Communities that once relied on mutual support may instead fragment, with fear driving suspicion and reducing empathy toward others. Scapegoating is a common consequence of collective fear. When people feel threatened and uncertain, they often search for a tangible source to blame for their distress. This can manifest in hostility toward marginalized groups, leaders, or even entire nations. History provides countless examples, from witch hunts in early modern Europe to xenophobic reactions during times of economic and social instability. In each case, fear functions as a catalyst for social unrest and injustice, rather than as a reflection of objective reality. Violence and civil unrest can also emerge from collective fear. When anxiety is heightened and channels for constructive action are absent, individuals and groups may resort to aggression, believing it to be a protective or necessary measure. Fear can override reason, and what begins as a desire for safety can escalate into actions that harm both the community and the very individuals seeking protection. The modern digital landscape further amplifies collective fear. Social media platforms, messaging apps, and online forums allow rumors and false narratives to spread rapidly. Misinformation, once isolated to small communities or local discourse, now reaches global audiences almost instantly. Apocalyptic predictions, conspiracy theories, and sensationalized news can achieve virality, reinforcing emotional reactions rather than encouraging critical analysis. People may act on these narratives as though they are irrefutable truths, creating a feedback loop where fear intensifies and spreads unchecked. Understanding the mechanisms behind the spread of fear and misinformation is essential to mitigating their impact. Awareness of social psychology, cognitive biases, and the role of information networks allows individuals and leaders to intervene thoughtfully. By fostering transparency, critical thinking, and empathy, communities can counteract the divisive effects of fear. Encouraging open dialogue, providing accurate information, and reinforcing social connections helps reduce the likelihood that anxiety will transform into distrust, violence, or widespread panic. Collective fear is not inherently destructive. It can serve as a warning signal, prompting preparedness and caution. The challenge lies in managing fear constructively, so that it guides careful action rather than reactionary harm. Societies that understand and address the psychological and social dynamics of collective anxiety are better positioned to navigate crises without succumbing to fragmentation. By emphasizing informed cooperation, compassion, and critical evaluation of information, communities can transform fear from a destabilizing force into an opportunity for growth, resilience, and strengthen social bonds. In the face of uncertainty, compassion and resilience emerge as fundamental qualities that allow individuals and communities to navigate crises with stability and purpose. When fear and anxiety threaten to dominate, the deliberate practice of compassion, extending kindness, understanding, and care to others, creates a stabilizing force. Acts of compassion do more than provide immediate relief to those suffering. They reinforce trust, solidarity, and connection within communities. These networks of support are essential during times of crisis, as they transform vulnerability into shared strength and help prevent social fragmentation that often accompanies widespread fear. Compassion is not merely an emotional response, it is a conscious choice. It requires recognizing the humanity in others, understanding the pressures and uncertainties they face, and taking action to alleviate distress wherever possible. In a world where misinformation, rumor, and sensationalized threats abound, compassionate behavior serves as a counterbalance to fear-driven reactions. It grounds communities in shared values, reminding people that even amid chaos, human dignity and care can prevail. Resilience complements compassion, offering the internal strength required to face adversity without being overwhelmed. Resilience is not a matter of avoiding challenges or denying fear. Rather, it involves the capacity to absorb shocks, adapt to change, and maintain forward momentum despite uncertainty. Resilient individuals and communities are characterized by flexibility, problem-solving ability, and a forward-looking mindset that prioritizes recovery and growth. They do not see setbacks as permanent failures, but as opportunities to learn, adapt, and strengthen their foundations. At the individual level, resilience can be nurtured through practices such as mindfulness, reflection, and the cultivation of supportive relationships. These practices help people remain grounded, reduce the paralyzing effects of fear, and enhance the ability to respond thoughtfully to complex situations. On a community level, resilience manifests through collective preparedness, transparent communication, and mutual aid. Societies that prioritize resilience encourage collaborative problem-solving, ensuring that resources, knowledge, and emotional support are shared equitably. The interplay of compassion and resilience is particularly powerful. Compassion motivates action that alleviates suffering, while resilience ensures that such action can be sustained over time, even in the face of ongoing uncertainty. Communities that cultivate both qualities are better equipped to prevent fear from becoming a destructive force. They foster environments in which individuals can confront anxiety without aggression, engage with uncertainty without despair, and maintain social cohesion even under pressure. Moreover, compassion and resilience create a feedback loop that strengthens collective well-being. Acts of kindness enhance trust, which increases the willingness to support one another during challenges. Resilience reinforces the capacity to act compassionately, because individuals who feel capable of managing difficulties are more likely to extend themselves for others. In this way, communities can transform potential crises into opportunities for deepening connection, reinforcing shared values, and building enduring social and emotional infrastructure. In times of widespread uncertainty, therefore, compassion and resilience are not optional virtues. They are essential tools for navigating fear, maintaining cohesion, and ensuring that societies can endure and thrive. By practicing both, humanity can meet the unknown with courage, respond to adversity with empathy, and emerge from crises not fractured and fearful, but connected, capable, and stronger than before. To address the challenges posed by collective fear and apocalyptic beliefs, it is essential to intentionally cultivate a culture of understanding, one that prioritizes knowledge, empathy, and connection over reaction and suspicion. A culture of understanding begins with critical thinking. Individuals must be encouraged to question narratives, examine evidence, and distinguish between fact and speculation. This is not an effort to diminish belief or personal experience, but to provide the tools necessary to evaluate information with clarity and discernment. When people are equipped to think critically, they are less likely to succumb to fear-driven misinformation, and more likely to make decisions that reflect both reason and compassion. Open dialogue is equally important. Encouraging conversations across differences, whether of belief, background, or perspective, helps prevent isolation and polarization. In a society where apocalyptic fears or extreme predictions can quickly amplify anxiety, dialogue acts as a bridge, fostering mutual understanding and reducing the tendency to demonize those who hold different views. By sharing experiences, concerns, and questions in a safe and respectful environment, communities can transform fear into shared learning and constructive action. Empathy lies at the heart of understanding. Recognizing the fears, hopes, and vulnerabilities of others allows individuals to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Empathy does not require agreement, but it does demand acknowledgement of the human experience behind every emotion and belief. When empathy informs communication, it softens the divisive impact of fear and suspicion, replacing suspicion with care, hostility with curiosity, and panic with patience. Educational initiatives are a crucial avenue for fostering these skills. Programs that emphasize media literacy can teach individuals to evaluate sources, detect bias, and understand how information is manipulated. Scientific reasoning can be promoted to encourage evidence-based thinking and a measured approach to uncertainty. Emotional intelligence training can help individuals recognize and regulate their responses to fear, enhancing both self-awareness and social cohesion. Together, these educational efforts equip people to navigate a complex world with discernment and confidence. Community programs also play a vital role. Initiatives that promote inclusivity, mutual support, and shared responsibility strengthen social bonds and reduce the isolation that fear often exploits. Volunteer networks, mentorship programs, and neighborhood engagement initiatives foster a sense of belonging, reminding individuals that they are not alone in confronting uncertainty. These programs create environments where people are empowered to act responsibly, support one another, and resist the divisive tendencies that arise during crises. Culturally, fostering understanding requires a shift in societal values. It involves celebrating curiosity, humility, and cooperation rather than fear-driven competition or sensationalism. It involves recognizing that humans are inherently social beings, dependent on connection and trust for both survival and fulfillment. By embedding these values into education, media, and community structures, societies can gradually create an ecosystem in which fear-driven narratives have less influence, and constructive, compassionate action becomes the norm. Ultimately, cultivating a culture of understanding is not a short-term endeavor. It requires persistent effort, modeling by leaders, and reinforcement across institutions and communities. The goal is not to eliminate uncertainty or fear entirely. These are natural aspects of human existence, but to ensure that they do not dominate human behavior or fracture society. By emphasizing critical thinking, dialogue, empathy, and education, we can build communities that respond to uncertainty with resilience and care, rather than panic and aggression. Through these efforts, societies lay the groundwork for a future in which individuals are equipped to face challenges with clarity, to evaluate information with discernment, and to engage with others constructively. In such a culture, apocalyptic fears lose their power to destabilize, and communities are strengthened by the bonds of shared understanding, cooperation, and informed action. By consciously fostering these values, humanity can move forward with greater confidence, compassion, and cohesion, ensuring that fear does not dictate our choices or divide our communities. The fear of uncertainty and the allure of apocalyptic beliefs are deeply rooted in the human psyche. These tendencies emerge from fundamental aspects of what it means to be human. We are meaning-seeking creatures, aware of our mortality, and constantly navigating a complex and unpredictable world. When the future feels opaque or threatening, the mind naturally turns to narratives that offer certainty, closure, or a sense of control. Apocalyptic beliefs, whether religious, cultural, or speculative, are manifestations of this need. They provide an understandable framework through which individuals can interpret chaos, loss, and the unknown. However, these beliefs can also carry significant risks. Left unchecked, fear can amplify itself, spreading rapidly through communities and influencing behavior in ways that are counterproductive or even dangerous. Fear-driven actions can fracture societies, encouraging suspicion, scapegoating, and conflict. When fear dominates decision-making, the bonds of trust, cooperation, and empathy weaken, leaving communities vulnerable not only to external challenges but also to internal fragmentation. The same mechanisms that generate hope and meaning can, paradoxically, create tension, discord, and harm. Recognizing these psychological dynamics is the first step toward a healthier response. By understanding how cognitive biases, existential anxieties, and collective fear shape human behavior, individuals gain the ability to step back from reactive patterns. This awareness allows for a conscious choice, to act from understanding rather than impulse, from connection rather than isolation, and from knowledge rather than rumor. It is within this space that fear can be transformed from a paralyzing force into an opportunity for reflection, growth, and purposeful action. Fostering a culture of compassion and resilience is equally essential. Compassion reminds us that every person's fear, anxiety, or belief, no matter how extreme it may appear, emerges from genuine human concerns. Resilience provides the strength to navigate uncertainty without succumbing to panic or division. Together, they equip individuals and communities to maintain cohesion, exercise patience, and respond thoughtfully to the unknown. Acts of empathy and solidarity, however small, create ripples that reinforce trust, cooperation, and social stability. Over time, these practices build a foundation for societies that are not only informed and cautious but also generous, understanding, and united in the face of adversity. Education, dialogue, and active engagement are practical extensions of this philosophy. Encouraging media literacy, scientific reasoning, and critical thinking equips people to evaluate information carefully and make decisions grounded in reality. Promoting open dialogue and emotional awareness strengthens social bonds, providing safe avenues for expressing concern, uncertainty, and curiosity. Community initiatives that emphasize mutual support, inclusivity, and active participation in civic life further cement these principles, offering tangible pathways for individuals to contribute meaningfully to collective well-being. Ultimately, the future of human society need not be dictated by anxiety, fear, or the allure of imminent doom. While uncertainty is inevitable, the way we respond to it is not fixed. Societies that cultivate understanding, empathy, and resilience create conditions in which fear loses its ability to divide and harm. Through conscious effort, communities can transform uncertainty into an opportunity for cooperation, reflection, and growth. Individuals can make choices that prioritize care, responsibility, and awareness, shaping a world in which solidarity, hope, and constructive action are the guiding principles. By integrating these insights into daily life, communities, and educational systems, humanity can ensure that our responses to uncertainty strengthen rather than weaken our collective spirit. Fear can be acknowledged without becoming destructive. Hope can be nurtured without being naive. And apocalyptic narratives can be understood as reflections of our need for meaning, rather than directives for action. In doing so, societies are not only protecting themselves from the negative effects of fear and misinformation, they are actively creating a world in which trust, understanding, and compassion guide human interactions. The future, though uncertain, becomes a canvas for deliberate action, informed reflection, and cooperative effort. By transforming fear into awareness and division into unity, humanity can move forward with confidence, resilience, and shared purpose. In conclusion, the human response to uncertainty and the temptation of apocalyptic belief is not fixed or inevitable. With understanding, education, and the cultivation of empathy and resilience, fear can become a teacher rather than a master. Communities can flourish even amidst uncertainty. By choosing care over panic, dialogue over suspicion, and solidarity over isolation, societies can ensure that the future is shaped not by anxiety and division, but by hope, connection, and the enduring strength of human cooperation. In this way, we affirm that the true measure of humanity is not the avoidance of fear, but the conscious and compassionate way in which we respond to it.